Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 3. Today, we're going to be talking to Heli Kangas from VTT in an episode of Beyond 2030. Please join me on welcoming Heli Kangas. She's joining us all the way from Finland. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Hi, Santiago. I'm fine. It's a sunny day here in Helsinki, Finland, and despite of the situations, we are doing fine and working from home.
How's the quarantine treating you? Is it very strict in Finland? How's the situation over there?
Well, we are actually allowed to go outside and go to the shops and so forth. The restaurants are closed and the school are closed, so we are and most of us are working remotely. So it's basically that people are working and going to school from home.
Okay, I'm glad to know it's not as bad as in Spain, but you guys are. It seems like you guys are controlling it very well. So hopefully we
Yeah,
can
I
come back
hope
to
so.
normal. Hopefully
Yeah,
we
at
can
least.
come back to normal and travel again soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Meet in Brussels or in Spain or in Finland.
Yes.
So to all you listeners, I want to give a brief introduction of what is our relation with VTT and who they are, how we work with them. Sustainable Innovations, we work in over 18 research and development projects financed by the European Commission. And VTT is a research institution based in Finland. They are the largest and most important research institution in Finland, and we work in 3 projects with them. It's Your Biofuture, which the project has an intention to enhance the bioeconomy industry in all of Europe. ICT Biochain, which is efficient biomass digital innovation hubs, and BioSwitch, which is assisting brand owners to switch to bio. We also work with many proposals with VTT, and hopefully we can meet again soon when everything this is over. I'm just also going to give you a brief explanation of how the webinar and what it's going to consist of. First, we're going to talk a little bit about Heli's profile and introduction in her role at VTT. Then we're going to talk a little bit of beyond 2030, what this means, the objective that VTT has as a vision, a little bit about the success stories of what they're doing and a project overview. Then the COVID effects, the industry repercussions of research and development and everything that they do, how it is affecting them, positive and negative. A little bit about the expertise of Heli, which is the biomass and the bioeconomy and new advancements. And lastly, the same questions and the topic that we're touching, of the importance of awareness. So without further ado, Heli, if you could please brief us a little bit about who you are in as a career and what your role is at VTT.
Yes, sure. So I work as a technology manager at VTT in the areas of biomass processing and products, and my background is in forest products processing, but it's not forest. All the biomass is not forest originated any longer, so it's extended to biomass. And as a technology manager at VTT, my responsibility are actually technologies related to biomass fractionation and utilization. So there are different ways on separating the components from wood, cellulose, lignin, hemicelluloses, and how to utilize them. For example, lignin, which is considered as a side stream, and how to valorize lignin. And then also in my portfolio, I have nanocellulose manufacturing. So how to do nanoscale fibrils from cellulose, and then also like nanocellulose applications, for example, films. And then also I have additive manufacturing or 3D printing of bio-based materials as the technologies I look over. And actually what I'm supposed to do is to kind of maintain the technologies and IPR related to these technologies, and to take them forward towards a commercialization.
That sounds amazing. As you can see to all of the listeners, Heli is quite a master in the technologies that she focuses on. It seems like a very interesting material. I want to ask how many projects are you working in currently? I know that you're all over the spectrum and that you're very active in the European projects. If you could just give us a brief of how many projects are you working in and what types of projects?
Yeah, well, I'm actually working, I'm a coordinator of one EU project called Novum, and that's about 3D printing of cellulose based materials for electrical insulation components. And that's a very challenging project because the end user is ABB, and they are actually wanting to do electrical insulation components by 3D printing for the power transformers, as I already explained. And then I'm also, well, you mentioned BioSwitch. I'm the VTT project manager of that project, and that's actually starting in June. So we don't know yet what is in store for them. But and then I'm also involved in preparing one proposal that VTT is involved related to test beds. So and that's also like the biomass valorization project.
Well, very interesting information about what you do. I think this can go a very nice transition into also many different interesting things that VTT does. So we talk about the three areas that VTT does: innovation, business, and technology. How do these interconnect within one another?
Well, we always think that well, I mean, we look at the global challenges or the kind of mega trends, and then we also it's our vision that when there's an innovation, it needs to be combined with the business and technology, and all the best ideas come from the kind of the triangle that it's between these three areas. And also VTT does applied research, meaning that we are somewhere between the universities and then the industry. So we kind of work together with the academia on the kind of the scientific and innovations base, and then we want to take them further into the market and commercialize the solutions with our industrial partners. And VTT as an RTO, we never take anything to the market ourselves, but then we find the right partner to take it further. And sometimes we also, our scientists are so motivated that they actually spin out the technology and form a spin-off company from VTT. And we have great examples of that on for example, for cellulose-based textiles and then cellulose-based packaging materials.
Wow, that's very interesting to hear. We have a lot of listeners and an audience coming from Latin America, US, and also Mediterranean countries like Spain and Italy. We all know that the Nordic countries are always kind of leading into these advancements, and you guys from Finland are definitely a great example for this. You guys have a vision for 2030. I want to know a little bit more about what this means and the lighthouses that you represent. So if you could talk about what the vision for 2030 is and what you want to achieve as an objective.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Finland and Europe and Finland have their own goals for 2030 or 2035. So in terms of well, climate change and then also resource use and so forth. So and I think it's kind of the Nordic so to say focus that when we are talking about, for example, biomass resources, and example is forests, that we don't use more than it's actually, that we don't harvest more than what is actually growing. So it's the sustainable kind of utilization of the biomass. But then, of course, VTT works on different areas, and we focus on 5 areas of major challenges and growth opportunities that we have identified based on the kind of megatrends of the world and what is their interest. And these are the kind of lighthouses because they give us the kind of the way forward on which direction to go. And these are, for example, climate action. So we are looking into kind of this low carbon energy and mobility, and also intelligent energy. And the second one is good life. So we are looking at different ways of working and citizen-centric care, and then also the smart built environment. Safety and security. So cyber security in this day and age is very important. Autonomous system, how to use cars without drivers, how to use subway systems, and then the resilient society. I think resilience is something that Finns are famous for, so it's called SISU, in how do you adjust yourself in the changing society.
Yeah, fighting adversity, fighting all these challenges that bring up.
Yeah. And then it's closer to us is the resource sufficiency, which I already addressed upon. So, and that we have these renewable materials. We have a vast resources in Finland, for example, but we need to use them sustainably. And we are also interested in using like alternative resources, not just forest. And as you mentioned, Latin America, we have actually a very good example that we have done collaboration with the Latin American countries in this ERANET LAC projects. So we've actually kind of we've been using their raw materials, and we've been giving them good ideas on how to utilize these them raw materials for value-added products. And then the last kind of lighthouse, we have industrial renewal. So we are looking at the low carbon industry, and then also like thinking the production anew. So and one of these, well, this industrial renewal is the additive manufacturing or 3D printing that I was earlier talking about. So that's giving a more kind of freedom for the industries to plan and design their or customize their products.
And understanding the structure within VTT, are employees tied to a specific field? Is the objective for most of the areas to cover all areas? I know that you're tied a little bit more into this industrial renewal that you talked about, but how is the methodology placed? Is everybody supposed to do a little bit of everything? Are you
no? Well, actually, you can decide yourself on what you do. I mean, we have researchers who are very much staying in one research area, but then there are people who want to explore beyond the obvious. So we have like internal funding instruments for that. So we call them cross business areas, so that you can actually collaborate with people from other research areas and learn from them. But if you are very much, for example, if I wanted to just do research on wood fibers, I could do that easily. So you can decide yourself.
Oh yeah, these are all very interesting and inspiring areas that we can adopt not only as different research institutions, but areas of focus that keep you in a path to a clear road and vision. No? Moving into the next topic that we'll talk about, if you can tangibilize this vision into success stories, a little bit of what VTT has done. I don't have a very technical background. I know that the majority of the audience are engineers or have some type of scientific background, but for all those business oriented or marketing or international relations, if you could explain a little bit more as a general point of view, what VTT has done in a tangible way.
Yeah, these are great examples. To closest to me, it's for obviously the innovations related to forest. Well, it's a source of advanced bio-based materials for us, and we are generating like innovations beyond the obvious, which is pulp and paper and carton board, and not forgetting those, because we are also helping our industry to renew the pulp and paper industry. And also, as I mentioned, we are also putting a lot of research on the autonomous vehicles research, and then also like components for space exploration. So these are just some examples of the success stories that we have.
Moving to the hot topic and controversial, as we are being affected by this, I want to listen on how this is affecting your industry, the positive, negative effects, and
well, I mean, yeah, as I said, we continue working remotely. So we have just had a discussion today with our business area that it's surprisingly little effect on the ways that we are working. I mean, of course, we are working from home and we are not seeing each other, but I think all of us agree that there is actually more space for innovation and thinking things through when you are not crazily rushing from one place to another. Actually, the Finnish industry, I don't know, I mean, the industries might know better themselves how this is affecting, but they are actually exploring new initiatives within this pandemic, because it's, even though Finland was quite well prepared for the pandemic, meaning like protective gear, but we didn't have any production in Finland. So in the case that we kind of run out of our resources, we wouldn't have, I mean, we would have to buy them from China. So that then the industries actually jumped into this challenge and very quickly started seeing whether they could start production. And I think there has been some positive news that they will actually soon will start producing these masks, for example. And there have been, and the funding agencies have jumped to the kind of the opportunity as well, and providing like very quick and instant funding for these organizations who want to kind of participate in beating this coronavirus situation. So I think of course, I mean, there has been news that the economy will suffer, and I think that's a fact. But at least this has, to my mind, for our industry, that's given a lot of kind of so the fuel to innovate and come up with the novel ideas, and how can we do things differently, and like how can we adjust to the situation that we have now in hand. So I think there have been very many positive, so to say, examples of this situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I believe that when a crisis hits and our demand to consuming and trying to change our habits is when we see disruption and ideas and innovation. So it's good to know that you also believe in the silver lining of this. It's definitely a crisis, but we can do many positive things and opportunities. And we're going to move on to your expertise now, biomass and bioeconomy. You can talk about a little bit of what is this in some short brief words of biomass, what is bioeconomy, and a little bit about each sector, no?
Yeah. So for us, like I think I've said many times, is biomass is a source of these novel advanced materials. and we believe in that we should firstly use all of these materials, so in a kind of ground rules of circular economy, so there would be no waste generation, and also like we should use them as their for the highest value. So that's kind of the cascade methodology, that we always try to put them at the highest value, and if the requirements are then not suitable for that, then the second highest value, and so on. And also everything should circulate, so we should kind of reuse the materials again for the highest value again. And I mean, we all the time come up with the new advancements or new innovations, what we can do with these materials. Two examples one is plastic replacement. That's very much in demand. I mean, fiber-based packaging is well known, but it's not it doesn't meet the requirements of what plastic can do, for example, for food packaging. So then we kind of modify our advanced bio-based materials in the sense that they could be used for plastic replacement for certain applications. So for example, nanocellulose films, they are great oxygen barriers. And then if we combine them with, for example, bio-based bioplastics, then we could have like the water barrier as well there. And the second example of this new kind of applications are textiles. So we all know the problematic situation with the cotton. I mean, it's a natural material, but it's the cultivation consumes a lot of land and a lot of water. So what to do with we don't want to go to synthetic textiles, so why not use cellulose for these textiles and make them from wood fibers? So I think we have great initiatives already there, spin-offs, and even you know, like larger industries are looking for this opportunity. For example, Metsä Group, which is the large pulp and paper industry in Finland.
Wow, that's definitely very eye-opening. I want to touch a little more on your last point of large industries. Mm-hmm. These are very innovative types of advancements and technologies that you're using here. But how much impact can a large industry have? I know that most of our listeners from Latin America, Colombia, Mexico here, they are very industrial types of countries. They're countries in development. And when they can adopt these types of new methodologies and opportunities, how much impact can a large industry have when they are factories, they are developers of certain type of manufacturing? I think this is a great platform to show them that this can be a great opportunity for them. No?
Yeah, large industries can have a huge impact on how this bioeconomy advances. So it needs some kind of ecosystem and a lot of new working ways here, so they can really kind of invite the different stakeholders to participate in this transformation.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that large industries are getting to know the audience, that now it's not only about invoicing, it's not only about profit, now it's about balancing planet and profit. And this is a great way to hit both types, because in an economic point of view, monetary point of view, you can definitely benefit, but from an environmental point of view or sustainability point of view, this is where you can have more impact. No? And last but not least, the importance of awareness, of messaging to the audience. We ask all of our invites and speakers 3 main questions. And I want to listen to your point of view on these questions, and also if you have some messages at the end. And the first question is, how can COVID-19 help fight climate change? You mentioned earlier about the opportunities of innovation, but is there any specific habits or actions that we're doing now that you think we can keep or maintain afterwards?
Well, yeah, I touched upon the kind of now there is time to innovate, and maybe there are some lessons learned about consumer behavior that could be, continued. So, uh, and of course, I mean, it's self-evident, and it's not really related to my area, but that when you are traveling less, of course, that is helping the kind of the climate change. But when addressing my area, it's maybe, I don't know if it's directly linked to this COVID, but maybe it could be that people become even more aware of the importance of less spending, more recycling materials, and
From a linear economy to a circular economy, no?
yeah,
Less
and then
consumption, more recycling, more closing the gap.
yeah, yeah, because they are now living in the closed quarters. Maybe they realize like the amount of waste that they could be generated, and how important this. At least in my household, it's important that you recycle everything, and less packaging, more so to say alternative packaging.
Yeah.
So you kind of I think people become more aware of the situation, that how much you are actually generating this kind of waste.
Without a doubt, this crisis that we're seeing is a respiratory crisis, and if we're
Mm,
just polluting the environment with very simple decisions that we can make in a day-to-day basis, this definitely brings us awareness. Moving to the next question, these habits that we're doing, do you think that they can be maintained for a foreseeable future? You mentioned earlier that you were working remotely, and that you're not seeing each other anymore. I know this is different, especially for the elderly generation. My parents, I don't think they still can't adapt because they're used to going to physical, and they like that. But
yeah.
do you believe this can be maintained like this? As for them, they would never, let's say, have these types of meeting with their colleagues at work, but now they see that, oh, this can be more productive. This is an opportunity. Do you think this is here to stay, and the different habits that we're doing?
I think it will partially stay. So I don't think we will ever give up on meeting people and traveling to places, because it's so much more um, you know effective when you are actually having this face-to-face meeting. But I think it's going to affect that we don't maybe travel that much, and we don't have these physical meetings that much. So because we have realized that you can do a lot of things online also. So I think it's going to be in the future, it's going to be somewhere between. So I don't think we are ever going to back to the way things were completely. So I think it will be somewhere between this total isolation, and then the like the whole openness of the world. So I think we'll have physical meetings, and but still a lot of things will be done online. So I think some of the things will stay.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that the behavior and the awareness is going to change. Maybe not travel as much as we did
Mm,
necessarily,
yeah, yeah,
and try to if we traveled in train, in airplane a lot, when we could travel in train or something more
yeah,
renewable. We're gonna definitely choose the best option. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I agree that the physical touch is always a decision maker, a deal breaker. And lastly, what actions do you recommend for an enduring environmental health?
Well, I mean, the the similar things that I already responded in the question number one. So I think people should really carefully think their behavior, so to say. So think of what kind of packaging you are using, for example. Do you need all that? Do you need to travel that much? And I don't want to put the blame on anything. I mean, but still, because we've needed to consider our ways of being. So maybe that should be something that we should consider, and thinking of the renewables and how to utilize them and what would be the next innovation and things like that. So that will be helpful towards our environment, and also like the sustainability of all things. And when you are doing something from the bio-based materials, always keep in mind that the bio-based materials need to grow back again. And less waste, circular economy, circulate everything you have. I mean, and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I related with you in your last point. As a millennial, I love to travel, and I am very intrigued by all the different types of cultures.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we often want to have experiences. This is a very defining synonym in millennials, but there's different types of ways to do that, no? And many times we don't know or close uh, encounters that we could travel to in a more sustainable
yeah,
way. They're very interesting, and we wouldn't think of traveling that, because the grass is always green on the other side. We always want to go to different types of cultures or different types of countries, which I think it's also very enhancing. And
yeah,
but we don't have to do it as often when we have many different types of opportunities and options close by. No,
yeah. And
so
you could do like, so to say, conscious traveling. So and wherever you go, use the local kind of services and things like that. And maybe local traveling should be used more. So go to your nearest city or your own city and things like that. But I like to travel as well, and I'm not giving up on that. But still, I mean, you should
yeah,
consider more on what you are doing.
yeah, definitely. I think that the other point that you touched on, the packaging and how we consume, there is a great impact as an individual, because
Mm,
uh, even though we're billions of people on this earth, um, one can set an example, and if it starts with a household and then a community and then a society, there can be a great impact on this now. And we
yeah,
definitely have to transition now, and uh, this call to action, or this pandemic, I think is very clear, shouting at us that we definitely need to change. And Kelly, any last words you want to address to the audience? Any last messages that you want to say to them?
yeah, just would say that be curious and think, as we say at VTT, beyond the obvious. I mean, who would have thought, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that you can actually make plastic replacement and clothing from wood fibers, and that changed uh, fairly rapidly. So I think you can do. We are saying that you can do anything out of wood. So that could apply to other materials as well.
Well, thank you. Very inspiring, Kelly. I like your Steve Jobs quote, be curious. I think there's many different types of industries. Like you said, your specialty is on biomass and bioeconomy. Wood is a great example, and there's endless possibilities of all the types of expertise that the audience has, that they can innovate from. No? And
Yep.
we thank you so much for joining us today. We're very appreciative of learning from all your expertise and knowledge. And we invite you to join us in the next webinar, in the next episode of Quarantine Chronicles. And hopefully we can adopt many of the things that VTT is doing, that Finland is doing, and people like you with a lot of industry and experience. We can follow these steps. No, so thank you for leading that path, and thank you for joining today.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Ciao ciao.
Bye.
Hey, hello To all of those who tuned in later during this conversation or are new to the Quarantine Chronicles, we take this time to open conversation and questions. I saw that some of you asked within the chat. The first question, Maribel Vasquez. Hi, I'm Maribel from Colombia and wanted to know if you think this crisis will speed up the investments in green projects such as the ones Heli mentioned. Yeah, Maribel, we mentioned this in our last episode with the example of the oil plunge. Now, environmental projects are seen as equal to profitable and return on investment, which was the main factor why support or finance traditional projects. And I think this is a great silver lining. Now that we have this coronavirus and this is a tragedy and it's a crisis, I think it's also a good call to action to transition into a more greener future. Mariana, in line with Maribel's question, do you think that the future will be a must for companies to adopt circular economy? Yes, without a doubt. I think that before we had a more profit-oriented mentality that we grew without thinking of the repercussions. The baby boomer generation was in crescendo forever, and now the new society and the younger generations are more worried about the planet. So I think there definitely has to be a balance between planet and profit. Nidia Ruiz, what do you think about bioprints in order to print organs in a 3D printer? Well, I think this is very similar to what Heli said. 15 years ago, wood fibers applied. 15 years ago, we would never think that wood fibers would apply to clothing, and maybe the same applies to the 3D printer with the organs. But we've evolved, and now it's reality. So I don't know what Heli's point of view is on this. Heli, it's her 3 a.m. But I try to think, and I want to think that she's also supportive of this. Irma Natalia, could you talk more about the cascade methodology? Yes, there's a PDF that we have here that we will put in the chat that describes more about the cascade methodology and my biomass. Paola Marmolejo, how do you encourage that kind of thinking on the older generations that believe that the world is great as it is? Well, I have this conversation with elderly people all the time. We said in the last question, I believe Mariana asked that the baby boomers are more concentrated on the profits and making money, and now they are holding this money, no? So they're the decision makers. As a greater population in society, we millennials and Generation C's compose more than half of the population. So if we create a demand that demands to have more on the green side, more on the environmental side, they will have to change, even though they're very rigid and they have a close-minded mentality, since they're the ones that are holding the money. Stubborn, yeah, that's the good word. They will have to adapt to what the demand wants, no? So now, more than answering questions, I want to ask the question to everybody, since today is a very important day. Today is Earth Day, and we learned about VTT strategy for 2030. I want to know what you think about, or what should be the most important challenge. VTT calls them lighthouses. We can call them areas of focus. I want to ask the audience, which one are you most inspired by, and why, and which one do you think we should tackle first? No. So don't be shy. I think you can raise your hand in the chat, and I can call you, and you can speak. You can also put your comments on the chat if you want, and I can write and I can say them out loud. Yes, Luis Catalan.
I think we should really start focusing first on resource efficiency. I think it's very important to start seeing what we have and what we have less of, so that way we can plan for a future, what we need and what we're going to run out of first.
Yeah, I think that is a great point. Resource efficiency is crucial.
We can't sustain ourselves by the current linear model and the resources that we have. And I think that resource efficiency should adopt changes in the manufacturing and also, well, other options or alternatives, no, like renewables. Another point of view or comment? Thank you, Luis, for your comment. Okay, Arancha Villar, she put herself on the chat. I think that the most important challenge we were to face after COVID is not to forget about the economic recovery must be green. I am afraid that the speed of getting again growth might be relegate sustainability to a second place. Therefore, I think that the most critical lighthouses that Heli has talked about are climate action together with industrial renewal. And the key will be that both of the challenges go together hand in hand. Well, yeah, this is very interesting. Revamping the economy can't just be forgetting about everything that we did and all the efforts that we've done for climate action and industrial renewal. I think that governments play a key role into this of how we're gonna act upon this challenge. And if governments are more flexible onto how we want to change this challenge, we will definitely not go ahead. No, I really admire what Europe is doing. They're trying to focus on the Green Deal. Irma Natalia Gomez says that resilient society, as we need to understand, we can't go back to normal. As Heli said, not everything is going to be as before. And society building is key for the change and transition. Yeah, this is also very important because we have to tailor, or we have to educate, we have to create awareness amongst all individuals. And a resilient society, if you were to plan a family, you're just not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about long ahead in the future, and the changes need to start not in the future but now. So yeah, I also agree on this. What is my point of view? What should be the most important one? Well, I think that's a tough question. I didn't think of an answer beforehand, but I believe that people won't start making changes in a big scale if they're not enforced as a law and as a strict law. If governments do not add these measures and punish them, I believe that we won't see big changes. No, so a little bit with what Irma says, resilient society, but with the inclusion of the government. Many more comments. Okay, well, next week we have Reyes San Segundo from the city of Madrid. She focuses on the sector of health, so it's very in line with COVID-19. Madrid I+D is the scientific department of research and innovation of the community and city of Madrid. I'm going to put the link on the chat so that you can register now. We have many people that have registered for the Quarantine Chronicles, yet we only have availability for 200 registrants. So if you register now, you assure yourself in the list. And right now, I think we have like a pipeline of more than 200 people. So sometimes people register and at last time don't show up. So you can go ahead and register now. And thanks again, everybody, for joining in. Happy Earth Day, and we wish you the best in the quarantine, and we hope to see you soon again.